Monseigneur, ladies and gentlemen, sisters and brothers in our role as mayor. Allow me to support my contribution today with some pictures. After all, in addition to the stories, it's largely images which drive home the message about major world problems. But I will start with a different picture, an image of the person who is actually the mayor of Europe, to my opinion, a picture of Angela Merkel, together with Pope Francis, from whom we will hear once again his inspiring stance. She is one of the few people who has demonstrated moral leadership in the refugee crisis. She does that courageously. Although she is adept at pragmatism, she is also someone who portrays the core values we must defend. It must be possible, as she has shown, for a prosperous country to be a refuge for those who have had to flee their country. We must be able to do that, especially when the will is there. Because leadership is not only about considering what the majority want and hearing what the loudest voices are shouting, it's also about considering the values which underpin our laws. Angela Merkel is a great example for mayors. I am mayor of an idyllic 800-year-old city in the south of the Netherlands called Oosterwijk. 100 years ago, during the First World War, my city had 4,000 residents, and at the same time, 4,000 refugees from Belgium. A doubling of the population, and the history books do not talk about problems or riots or xenophobia. They talk about people who were happy to help those in need. Sometimes I come across descendants of people who stayed in Oosterwijk at that time. They have become part of our community. However great the cultural differences are, the seeds of happiness lie in brotherhood and sisterhood and a peaceful society. Even now, 100 years later, in 2016, my residents know what it means to be a refugee. For over 25 years, we have accommodated 450 people who have applied for asylum in our country. Minors, singles, families, in an ever-changing composition and from varying countries of origin. I'm pleased that our residents have been welcoming over the years. They have helped at the school, at the asylum center. They have included people in their sports. They have taken up collections. They have organized relaxing and entertaining activities. While the political support is not always obvious, the community has embraced the refugees. I am energized by the gratitude of the refugees who have found refuge in our country. No matter how many reports we write and conferences we hold, in the end, it comes down to humanity and human dignity. My positive experiences have encouraged me to look beyond our borders. When the Association of Dutch Municipalities asked me to take part in a visit to the largest refugee camp in Jordan, then I immediately said yes. And you see the pictures here of Al-Zatari, a camp housing around 80,000 refugees. A city within itself, with 350 water trucks daily, 3 hospitals, 30,000 children, of whom only 12,000 receive education, 500,000 bread rolls. There are 200 children born each month, and the monthly energy bill is $500,000. It's a wonder that it all runs smoothly on average. It really makes you appreciate the work of UNHCR. In Jordan, we explored the possibilities as Dutch municipalities, the possibilities of supporting our fellow local government associations and authorities. A multi-year project emerged where we share knowledge and expertise. Areas we can especially help include waste management, the supply of drinking water, and spatial planning. Because, remember, most of the refugees do not live in the refugee camps, but in existing residential areas. And thus, the pressure on facilities increases dramatically. This asks for great resilience on behalf of the locals, as well as the planning, organization, and leadership of the local authorities. Having those colleagues with knowledge and expertise assist in is our way of contributing to a better life for people in need. My experiences have motivated me to address the theme protection of refugees in their areas of origin within the European Committee of the Regions. While we do what we can to accommodate refugees in our cities and in our towns, we know full well that most refugees flee to the countries neighboring the countries in conflict. We can all see the enormous task that lies ahead for our colleagues in Turkey, Lebanon, Jordan, Italy, and Greece, as well as Mali and Kenya, etc., etc. Dozens of countries are a haven for their neighbors in this troubled world. I admire the commitment of my governmental colleagues, mayors, governors, and their staff. What they do in difficult circumstances. There's a social tension, lack of housing, jobs, and money. They deserve our support in word and deed. From Europe, we can offer that. I have asked the European Commission to provide support for a new approach. Emergency release, of course, is fine. However, an integrated approach to the refugees and host communities is much more effective. I think many of my European colleagues here today, in one of the spiritual centers of our world, they recognize that. I hope that together we can consider how we can contribute even more to this mission, while recognizing that coordination is necessary under guidance of international organizations created for this purpose. I also hope that the Roman Catholic Church continues to lend its moral authority and its commitment to mercy to this issue. Let the church authorities be as strong a partner as secular governments and as mayors. Let us do what Christ would have done. I thank the Pontifical Academy for inviting me here today to share this story and for bringing together people with so many inspiring stories. Peace, reconciliation, and sustainable development are needed to solve real problems, as we all know. In the meantime, let's do everything we can to offer everyone the chance to lead a life of dignity. And to close my speech, I see Monsignor has left for a moment, but I asked him to be in the position to offer the Holy Father a book which is just about the stories who are told in Al-Zatari, the camp in Jordan, a book with pictures and stories and poems on life in a camp, the possibilities and the challenges, but also the happiness, which is also part of being a refugee. Let's not forget that. So I hope I will be in the opportunity to offer that, but we will see. Thank you very much for your attention, ladies and gentlemen.